hello, like, hello, it's a magical moment. This magic moment. Because I have been on plan for 3 days. Today is the 4th. This time it just, I feel a little different, a little bit different, you know? Anyway, so, a little different. That was an ugly face, and that's probably the face that YouTube will use for my thumbnail. I'm hoping that my hair is just the right amount of dirty and just the right amount of tangled to look like next day good and like volumized, even though it's kind of flat over here. Come on, dude. And not necessarily just dirty and just unbrushed. That's the every girl's dream, right? I know. It's just you and me and the dogs and the cats and the whole entire menagerie of rescued animals. So let's just get this going. Okay, let's do it. Let's get started. So, the last 3 days, so today being the 4th day, I have been working a plan. I know, it's felt unreal. I do know a couple of things about myself, and being on plan is something I've learned a little bit. So I'm going to talk about that, but I'm also going to talk about the plan that I'm doing. As of this moment, that could change, but I'm trying not to let it change for at least a month. Now look, I know, it's kind of stupid. It's a little bit bad to be like, well, my plan could change at any moment. It's kind of like a cop-out in a way, but the reality is this is a plan that I've done in the past, and it has worked. However, it did become less effective as I lost more weight and I need to figure out new things. And let's talk about that. So let's talk about that. What plan am I doing? I'm doing Weight Watchers, basically, only it's not Weight Watchers because Weight Watchers decided that this plan they did away with and they changed it. Okay, fine. So let's talk about the evolution of Weight Watchers as it pertains to me. So quick history. Don't know how quick, but anyway, okay. Quick history. I started Weight Watchers many years ago. Oh my God. It was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Okay, so I started Weight Watchers 20 years ago. And that was awful. I'm giving YouTube all kinds of faces to pull from for the thumbnail. Anyway, so I started Weight Watchers. Back then, you got a certain amount of points for your weight, and you had a little slide and scale calculator, and they would, you could stock points, like you could earn them. So let's make this easy, really easy. Let's say you had 30 points for every day, and your week started on a Monday, right? And if you only ate 25 points, you could take the 5 bonus from Monday and stick it in a little bank up until I think there was like a 35 point, like you couldn't stock up over that. Okay. So you could stock them up and use them all on Friday or all on Saturday if you had a party or something to do, right? Great. That's how it was when I first started. Okay. When I went back many years later, actually 10 years later, and I actually was very successful in the first one, but life happened. I was young and it was a lot going on. So anyway, went back 10 years later, and the program was basically the same, but they had added filling foods, and they had added the fact that you didn't have to stockpile your points. You got your points every day, and you got a bonus, just a basket of bonus, 35 points a week. Okay. I was never actually somebody who used those 35 points unless I kind of added them. Every once in a while I would. I wasn't really comfortable with the idea that I hadn't earned them. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that the first time I had done it, my mindset was you have to earn those points. So, okay. That was very successful for me. And I think those points were called smart points. Because I'm thinking that Points Plus came next, and then Weight Watchers 360 or whatever. So anyway, I want to say that was Smart Points, that program. you got your little scale, like your points, your 35 bonus, whatever. I did well with that. They then introduced, so you worked the plan for, I think it was like 12 weeks or somewhere between 10 and 12 weeks when you would go and you get your little booklet saying this is week one, week two. They introduced you to the idea of filling foods. Filling foods were like foods that either could have, they had like a point value, but if you were like, let's say going to a crawfish boil, you could do, instead of trying to peel and weigh each little crawfish tail, you could just call it 5 points for the crawfish. And it was all the crawfish you could eat as long as you were not going buck wild, balls to the wall because you had a free pass or whatever. It was like, if you sit down and you peel a common, normal, amount of crawfish and you feel satisfied but not like so full you can't move, then you can call that 5 points for the crawfish. And I did a little back then. I did a little bit of experimenting and counting and figuring it out. And basically almost everything that I used the filling foods point value for, so I did it with shrimp, I did it with crawfish, I used it on vegetables sometimes, like so stuff like that. Like I did a little bit of like experimentation. I used to have a blog while I was losing weight that I did I talked about this a lot on, and I vlogged it. I don't know if those vlogs are public or not. I'll go check. But anyway, so I did a lot of that, and I kind of figured out that either you were actually overshooting by using the 5 points, like out of shrimp boil, like, okay, I said 5 points, but if I actually counted out the shrimp and weighed them and I stopped when I felt satisfied and would, like whatever, it would have been, I think, 4 points of shrimp. So often you were either a little bit over or right at the right amount of numbers. And then on top of that, I kind of felt like, and I feel like this a lot with Weight Watchers, so people would obsess in the meetings, like, how exactly do I measure it? And how exactly, like, it says a cup of beans and rice, but the beans, my mom makes have more rice, and the beans that, so-and-so makes have more beans, and somebody, and I think that the idea was, like, we're getting caught up in the minutia, but the reality is the big picture. If you're willing to count, if you say 6 points for that beans and rice bowl, and you stop, even if it was an 8-point bowl or even maybe a 10-point bowl, the fact that you counted it and stopped there was not only a great improvement from before in your behaviors when you weren't paying attention, but also it gave you some sort of number and you could kind of compensate for it. So it might not be perfect, but you are consistently doing better than you would, and all right, that worked. That plan worked for me. You guys might know that. I joined in May of 2010, and by December of 2010, I had lost like 60 something pounds. Could be lying. I'm not lying. It was around 60 pounds. Okay. And during that time, I was May to like July, I was exercising here and there. And then from July all the way for many years, I worked out a minimum of 30 minutes a day for 3 days a week. That was my goal. I was like, listen, 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week, I can do that. And that's actually a goal I want to reinstate. So, and anything counted, but it kept me moving. And it actually led to me working out a lot more than that. But anyway, so during that time, I was very successful and I was really, really happy with the plan. In December 2010, 11, somewhere in there, they switched the plans up and they started doing, I think, points plus. And that's when like certain foods became 0 points foods. And like they changed it to where they told you about those 0 point foods up front and your points changed. And it was just a lot. And I did not like it. I was not happy with it. I was never satisfied with that program. I tried it for a month, didn't lose a lot of weight on it. I don't know. I think I like lost, gain. It was like, I did not like it. So I stopped. And that might have been the beginning of like the end, because that is where I downloaded Lose It. And I love Lose It. It's a great app. But counting calories for me, somebody who I will admit, like I have food addiction tendencies. I have food addiction, I believe, but it's never been like diagnosed. I'm not saying that, but I did do a lot of videos about that too. But so I kind of was like, I don't know about this. At the time it worked fantastically, but I started to like challenge myself to lower those calories. And I will tell you this also, I had spoken to many long-term Weight Watchers. Like, I was privileged and honored to be in a meeting at Weight Watchers, because I did continue to go there because it was something about the magic of their scale. Like, I was paying for the camaraderie and the use of their scale. So I had, in my meeting, it actually wound up getting shut down because we didn't have enough paying members to stay open, which was a whole nother complaint. But anyway, we had shit tons of lifetime members. I had a lot of lifetime members to look up to and to talk to and to learn from. And some of them were elders, like elderly. They were like, I mean, 3 of my very, very good friends from there. One of them in particular, they were all in their 70s, but they were lifetime members for like 20 years or more. And then we had a bunch of other ones too, and it was fantastic. But one of the things that I learned from them was that they were all eating, to maintain their lifetime status, around 1,000, like 900 to 1,000 calories a day on a regular basis. Now, I'm not even joking. My friend, the one I talked about, would come in and say, I know I'm going to be up at least 2 pounds because I ate extra almonds this many times this week, or however many, and she would be right on the money. And that was when I started going, I was asking her about her food, and I started to pay attention to her food, and I started to like do the math, and I figured out that she was eating about 1,000 calories a day, like 975 to 1,000 calories a day consistently, and staying at her weight. And if she ate over that, she would gain a little bit of weight, and then she'd go back down. So that is when I first noticed. I was looking at her food logs. And then I talked to some of the other ladies, and I did not get to look so extensively at their food logs, but they did let me see some of them. And it was pretty much the same story. So in my head, I was like, okay, 1,000 calories. Cool. So when I started calorie counting, that's what I was doing. And then it became almost a challenge to go a little lower. And also at the same time, during those years, I was extremely active, and I got sick again. And it really threw me for a loop, and I couldn't move as much. So I compensated that by going, okay, I was eating X amount of calories, but burning off X amount of calories. I can't burn that now, so I'll just take it from my food. Not good. It's not good. It's not okay. It spiraled. And I think through all of that, there was just this awful relationship with food. It had never actually gotten better. It had just shifted and changed. Then I was also very embarrassed and alone and feeling very overwhelmed, and it was just bad. So then when I started gaining the weight, which is totally understandable because it's not a long-term solution and it's not a viable like life change, I would like spiral into depression and then binge, and then make up for binging by not eating for days, or not eating for days and then eating extremely low, and it just kept getting worse. So all of that is to say that by the time we moved here and everything had happened, exercise was shot, my physical abilities were shot, then stress on top of that was a basket case. It was a messy basket case. So it's taken a while, and I've gained a lot of weight back, obviously. But here I am, and I have 3 days of being on program, and I am back on the second Weight Watchers plan I did, which I think is Smart Points. I basically have X amount of points plus a 35 point bank, not calories. And again, I am not overly using that 35, but I did go on day 2, I went 2 points over. And however, when I look at what I ate that day, and you get to look at it too, because I food vlogged all 3 of those days, and I think I'm going to keep doing it. And I think I'm going to upload them as weekly vlogs. So instead of getting I don't know if I should do a daily one, what I ate today, daily vlogs, or if I should do a 1 week what I ate this week. Anyway, one of those things is happening. But when I look at them, I realize like I have like vegetables and broccolis and stuff like that in there. There's a lot of them. I did not eat junk food. Like I didn't eat like, it wasn't like I went over because of king cake. It wasn't like I went over for any of those reasons. So I feel pretty satisfied with it. And also I told myself, look, girl, use those 35 to get used to what you're doing, to stay on plan. Because the worst thing for me that happens is when I blow a plan. And even though technically and in my head, logically, I know this isn't real, something about it, it's like, well, I done effed that up. So what? So you know what I'll do? I'll just eat it all until midnight and then I'll start again. No. Anyway, so I am definitely in a different headspace. Now, as far as that headspace goes, I will tell you, hormonally, as a woman, we get this beautiful cycle. Even if you don't have any other issues going on, you wind up with your little cycle, following the moon, going absolutely batshit nuts at one point and just continuing on. So I have learned that in my older age, and I'm not calling myself old, I don't believe that I'm old, but I'm not young. So in my older age, I'm not as young as I was. I'm not even 40 yet, so I'm young. I'm not complaining. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that over the last couple of years, I started to notice that with my cycle, I've always had anxiety, but I would have extreme, unrelenting, insane anxiety a couple of days before. And that also coincides with no appetite. So I would be like, oh, I'm so on plan. It's been easy. And then the scientifically sanctioned bitch week hits and I'm like, food, food. You know what I mean? I just woke the puppy up and she's like, what the hell was that? Sorry, it's your mama. That puppy and we don't get along. Anyway, so I know that the best time to start a plan is around that time because I have this false willpower, but I have to be mentally ready for that. And so this time I was like, oh, maybe I should wait till after. And I'm like, no, I'm not waiting till after. I'm using the motivation. I'm doing it. I'm vlogging it. I'm getting back to it and I'm making it happen. And it really has felt different. And I really have been consistently vlogging and tracking, which is always different. So I'm pretty excited and I'm back on Weight Watchers in a roundabout way. I have an app that takes care of it for me. Like it's all done. Set my goals. I'm not going to share those yet. I just feel like you guys have had enough false starts and enough big proclamations. So I'm really trying to like stay focused, figure it out, and know where I'm going before I announce the plan. There you go. How's that? Like that seems, whatever. And when I said I'm doing this month and it might change, what I meant was like, if I find that I am using if I find myself like giving myself excuses or whatever, or like manipulating the plan to either suit my addiction or to suit an unhealthy like anti-addiction, then I'm going to adjust. I'm going to stop and adjust. Honestly, I'd like to go back to therapy, but that I just don't have right now. So I'm going to work really hard to like listen to myself and to hear myself and to like almost have my daily check-ins as if I was going to therapy, so I can make my little list of things that we need to talk about. And even though I don't go talk to her, I can talk to Amber. I can have a conversation with myself, just sitting down, removing myself from the situation and really thinking it out. So I think that that's where I'm at. And I do have some other things in life going on. I'm feeling more focused with art. I have some goals with my pottery. So I think I'm gearing up. gearing up. It feels like a generation, like I'm starting to generate some activity here. So that's what I'm doing, and that's where I'm at, and I hope that some of my old friends are around, and I hope that I make new friends. So, hi.